From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. We've got a packed show for all of y'all. If in case you thought 4th of July was like a nice long 4-day weekend, and that's it. You apparently forgot that yesterday was Patch Tuesday. And like the mother of all planning things of patching, why not throw every single critical patch on the planet to you immediately, right away, on this one day, and pray and hope to God that you get it all done, wherever you pray to, right? And get it all done so that you can be safe and secure, because apparently security means patching everything at once. We got to step away from Patch Tuesday. Significant, like firmly believe that. Firmly believe that. For everyone who has not subscribed to the show yet, please make sure to do so right now. Follow us on your favorite social media platforms. Make sure to comment, share. Good morning to people tuning in on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. Thank y'all for your comments. We've got Atlanta. We've got someone, Jason, Cyber Warriors. I like that. I like Cyber Warriors. I like Cyber Gang, though. Cyber Gang's cool. We're a gang. We'll hang out. All right. Follow, share, subscribe. Now join me for a coffee cup cheers. My double espresso. And as you can tell, see that line of foam right there? See that line of foam? That's good. It was much, you could tell that it was a little bit higher. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. Let's get the ball rolling because it's a busy show. We'll start off with this Inkbridge Networks on Tuesday calling urgent attention to the discovery of a 30-year-old design flaw in the Radius protocol, warning that advanced attackers can launch exploits to authenticate anyone to a local network, bypassing any sort of MFA protection that's been put in place. The flaw was discovered by researchers at Boston University, Cloudflare, Bastion Zero, Microsoft Research, Centrum, Wisconsin, and Informatica, and the University of California in San Diego. The CVE assigned to this vulnerability is 2024-35906, and then there's another one, but we're just going to stick to the CVE here. The technical description of what's being called Blastradius warns that corporate networks like internal enterprise networks, ISPs, and telecoms are exposed to major risk. The root cause is the Radius protocol. Some access request packets are not authenticated and lack integrity checks. An attacker could modify these packets in a way which allows them to control who gets onto the network altogether. The Radius protocol was standardized in the late 1990s. It's used to control network access via authentication, authorization, and accounting, and is still used widely today in switches, routers, access points, and many VPN products. So, kind of get an idea of that there. All of those devices are likely vulnerable to the attack, according to researchers. The company describes the issue as a fundamental design flaw of the protocol, noting that all standard compliant Radius clients and servers are likely vulnerable to this attack, even if they correctly implemented all aspects of the protocol itself. At an absolute minimum, Inkbridge Networks recommends that every single Radius server worldwide must be upgraded to address this vulnerability. It's not only sufficient to upgrade only Radius clients, as doing so will only allow the network to remain vulnerable. The company said a private proof of concept exploit has been created by its researchers, but there's no indication that it's currently being exploited in the wild. Give that some time. So you want to double check this research for mitigation. I was looking for mitigation for it outside of just doing some sort of upgrade. There's not much there at the moment. So just something to keep in mind with this is that opens everything up. Evolve Bank and Trust is sending notices to 7.6 million Americans whose data was stolen during the recent Lockbit ransomware attack. Lockbit published false claims that they hacked the U.S. Federal Reserve. It turned out to actually be Evolve Bank and Trust as they were getting audited by the feds. Evolve confirmed to Bleepy Computer that the data belonged to them. It's launched an investigation to determine the scope and extent of the breach. Evolve said customer funds remained safe, but noted the attack had impacted several fintech customers, including Affirm, Wise, and Built, independently confirming that the Lockbit attack at Evolve impacted their customers. The latest status update, according to the company, they've began sending data breach notifications to people whose PII was stolen during the attack. With the filing with the Maine Attorney General, Evolve says that 7,640,112 Americans were impacted by the breach. Although the compromise was discovered on May 29th, the initial breach occurred on February 9th, given the attackers nearly 4 months to dwell in the Evolve network. Evolve is now offering 2 years of credit monitoring and identity protection services for U.S. residents and dark web monitoring services for international residents. Recipients must enroll by the 31st of October in order to qualify. Evolve has not included what kind of data has been exposed, and they likely don't know the full extent of it yet. They probably still need to validate it. Evolve has active partnerships with places like Shopify, Plaid, Stripe, and Mercury, but those companies have not yet disclosed whether or not they've been impacted by this breach at Evolve, but definitely significant. A threat actor known as Ghoster on the XSS forum has claimed responsibility for a significant data breach targeting the Arabian Travel Agency, a prominent travel company based in the UAE. The Arabian Travel Agency data breach, which allegedly occurred in June 2024, compromised a substantial amount of sensitive information, including corporate accounting and sales data, as well as personal information of over 228,000 Air India customers and over 1 million visa applicants to the UAE. According to Ghoster, the compromised data includes corporate accounting and sales information, customer personal information that includes names, contact details, travel itineraries, and potentially visa information, passport information, employee documentation, and a whole lot more. That's significant for the UAE, by the way, which heavily relies on travel, like most places, but the UAE is special, right? Emirates, Etihad, some of the largest airlines, they want to keep you there overnight. These travel agencies are often used to book trips. While Expedia, Booking, and all these sites are popular in that part of the world, they still like a travel agent. And so there's that breach right there to be aware of. Also, Fujitsu confirms that information related to some individual and customer businesses has been compromised in the data breach they detected earlier this year. In a statement today, the company says it concluded the investigation into the incident and confirms data was stolen by malware that pivoted from a single point of compromise to 49 different computers. The malware was placed on one of our business computers. It was observed spreading to other computers. Fujitsu says 49 infected computers were isolated immediately after the discovery of the attack, and the malware was contained to the Japan-based network environment. The company says that commands to copy files were executed due to behavior of the malware. For this reason, Fujitsu notes that there is a possibility for the data to have been exfiltrated, although that's not been confirmed, nor does it look like they're trying to confirm that as of yet. Now let's move to some Patch Tuesday news. Microsoft has released patches to address 143 security flaws as part of its monthly security updates, 2 of which come under active exploitation. The 2 shortcoming kind of 0 days, you would say, are CVE 2024-38080, the Windows Hyper-V elevation of privilege vulnerabilities, and CVE 2024-38112, a Windows MS-HTML platform spoofing vulnerability. Successful exploitation of these vulnerabilities requires an attacker to take additional actions prior to exploitation to prepare the target environment. An attacker would have to send the victim a malicious file that the victim would have to execute. Checkpoint security researchers Haifei Li, who has been credited with discovering and reporting the flaw in May of 2024, said the threat actors are leveraging specially crafted Windows internet shortcut files that, upon clicking, redirect victims to a malicious URL by invoking the retired Internet Explorer browser. Something to be made aware of and something you want to patch ASAP. Adobe on Tuesday released critical severity patches for security defects in multiple enterprise-facing products, warning both Windows and Mac OS are exposed to code execution attacks. The patches affect Adobe Premiere Pro, InDesign, Bridge, urging customers to install available patches right off the bat. CVE's 2024-34123 for the Premiere Pro. And then for InDesign, it's CVE 2024-20781, 20782, 20783, and 20785. And for Adobe Bridge, CVE 2024-34139 and 34140. All the versions need to be updated ASAP. If we move to critical infrastructure and ICS, industrial control systems, Siemens published 17 new security advisories describing over 50 vulnerabilities and released patches and mitigations for the flaws. Additionally, the company updated 21 previously released advisories with additional information. The most severe of these security defects is a critical bug in the Cinema Remote Connect server that could allow an authenticated attacker to escalate their privilege on the underlying operating system. So we have that. Schneider Electric released 4 new advisories describing 6 vulnerabilities impacting its Wiser home controller, WHC5918A, and the EcoStruxure Foxborough DCS, the EcoStruxure Foxborough SCADA Fox RTU station, and the Modicon controller products. The most important of these issues is a critical severity vulnerability in the Wiser home controller, WHC5918A, a CBUS-based home automation controller discontinued 9 years ago. Customers should consider upgrading to the latest product offering in order to do that. The company has also released patches for high severity flaws in other systems. And then German maker of industrial controls IFM Electronic on Tuesday released patches for 5 vulnerabilities in smart PLC firmware, including 2 critical severity issues that could allow attackers to access vulnerable devices with high privileges or inject OS command to enable telnet access that accepts hard-coded credentials. CISO also published 7 ICS advisories describing vulnerabilities in Delta Electronics, Mitsubishi Electric, Johnson Controls, and PTC products. Mitsubishi updated an advisory for a critical severity code execution, CVE 2023-4088, initially disclosed in September of last year to expand the list of affected products. So a lot of work in ICS. Another OpenSSH secure networking vulnerability has been exposed. The vulnerability CVE 2024-6409er has a CVSS score of 7. It's distinct from the one we spoke about earlier last week, the regression one, then relates to a case of code execution in the PrivSep child process due to race condition and signal handling. It only impacts versions 8.7p1 and 8.8p1 shipped with Red Hat Enterprises Linux 9. So it's not as widespread as regression, but nonetheless still impacts the Red Hat Linux 9 versions 8.7p1 and 8.8p1. You want to make sure you get those updated right off the bat. Iran continues to play games, this time thinking that the Houthi rebels in Yemen, the ones where there's about a 50% of people are starving in Yemen. Apparently, they've got cyber technologies to now spy on targets through the Middle East for nearly half a decade now. That's not them. It's the Iranians. They're just using them as proxy. It's the way they weaponize them. Iran's been doing that for ages. They're doing it now. They're doing it now in Syria. They're doing it now in Lebanon. They did it in Gaza. And they're doing it with the Houthi rebels as well, who they fund. And it's part of their proxy war with the Saudis. So on one hand, they renew diplomatic relations with the Saudis. On the other hand, they want to hold on to Yemen strategically in order to keep the Saudis at bay and the West. And so there's that. Their weapon of war, a custom Android surveillanceware called GuardZoo, seems to have been used to steal potentially valuable intel relating to actors' military enemies, including official documents, photos, and data relating to troop location and movement. It began with malicious links distributed on WhatsApp and WhatsApp Business. The links lead to fake apps hosted on the Google Play, outside of the Google Play Store. Some pertain to generic themes like the Quran, look at your phone, but most are military-oriented, art of war, constitution of the armed forces, and those relating to specific organizations like the Yemen Armed Forces, the Saudi Armed Forces Command, and Staff College. All the various apps deliver the GuardZoo malware. It's essentially the leaked Dentroid RAT with some of the fat removed and retrofitted with dozens of commands fitting its proprietary spying needs. So all in all, Iran remains active using it in order to spy on the neighbors it says it wants to be friends with. That's it for our show this morning. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern live. We'll be here with all the latest and greatest. Friday, Steve Oren, Federal CTO the CTO at Intel Federal, will be joining me for a great conversation. We aired a part of the interview yesterday. It's really, really awesome. Check it out. Let's put it on here for all of you. So looking at artificial intelligence, how do you kind of see it? What's kind of like your kind of big philosophy around how AI is going to kind of change?
So James, it's interesting when you bring up AI, because you can't, throw a rock and not hit something that has AI in the title today. It is literally everywhere. It is the hype. And it's one of those things that we're not seeing the end of the hype curve, because every time you sort of get your feel on one area of AI, something new comes out and everyone's talking about that next wave. And so it keeps feeding on itself.
So Steve Oren, CTO at Intel Federal, joined me for a great conversation on AI. You don't want to miss it. He talks about some ways to really properly implement and use AI and really how you should be thinking about AI, which I thought was nice and refreshing because he didn't have all the buzz around it. So tune into that conversation, 11 a.m. Eastern. Event will be on later today on YouTube and LinkedIn. So make sure you go subscribe, set the alert to get that. Till then, have a great rest of your day. Patch your systems. Patch them as soon as humanly possible. And have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, stay cyber safe, y'all.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.